Hey guys, it's your buddy Tyler with My Retro Life, and today we're doing something a little different on the channel. We're going to take a look at a video I made several years ago about the legendary Sega Genesis game, Gunstar Heroes. In my family, Gunstar Heroes was the surprise hit of Christmas 1993. As the story goes, my cousin Manny had money burning a hole in his pocket in the days that followed Christmas. All of us, including my dad, were eager to go shopping for new games. So he loaded us all in his car and brought us to Toys R Us. It was there that Manny took a chance on a little-known game called Gunstar Heroes.
Hey, there's too many games in this house. What's going on?
I
understand you went to Toys R Us today, Manny.
Yeah.
You got 3 more games.
Yep.
Don't tell Dad.
What are you, the Game Meister?
I think Dad picked up Terminator on Sega CD that same day, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, Gunstar Heroes easily became one of our favorite games that year, and to this day remains a bona fide Sega classic. So, let's travel back to 2015 and take a look at a video I did on Gunstar Heroes with assistance from GameSack's Joe Redifer. This video has been lost media for several years now. I was always happy with how it turned out, and I'm glad I can bring it back to life here on My Retro Life. Gunstar Heroes is like Contra on crack. Insane bosses, dual-wielding customizable weapons, in-your-face action that never lets up? Gunstar Heroes took a popular run-and-gun formula and turned the dial all the way to 16-bit. The first thing I ever thought when I first played Gunstar Heroes was sensory overload. I mean, nobody had ever seen anything so fast-paced and crazy. It was a new kind of action.
Gunstar Heroes is an awesome game where you run around and you shoot things until they die. Totally new concept, totally awesome.
Gunstar Heroes is one of the greatest Sega games ever released. Okay, Sega didn't make it, it was made by Treasure, but it's synonymous with Sega and the Sega Genesis. It was Treasure's first video game ever. This was Treasure's first game, and what an incredible way to start such an amazing legacy. We're talking about the same developers that made Dynamite Headdy and Mischief Makers and Guardian Heroes, no relation to Gunstar Heroes.
I don't remember who made this game, but it's on the Genesis, and I like it.
These guys were so innovative, and I like to think of them almost like the equivalent of an eccentric filmmaker. You look at guys like Quentin Tarantino. When you watch a Quentin Tarantino movie, you know you're watching a Quentin Tarantino movie. Well, Treasure were one of the few game developers back then where when you played a Treasure game, you really felt like you were playing a Treasure game. And that's remarkable. The main bad guy in the game looks like M. Bison. Don't deny it. Drenched in a red bodysuit, chiseled jawline, and matching evil laugh, this baddie has little concern for fashion or copyright infringement for that matter. He might have a different name, but I always called him M. Bison when I was a kid. And I know I cannot be the only one that called him M. Bison growing up. I mean, he looks just like the Street Fighter character. I know his name is like Smash the Psycho or something like that, but to me, he will always be M. Bison. What a crazy character. I mean, the way he throws his henchmen at you, sacrificing their lives for his game. His cackling laugh. His giant feet that stretch out and attack you. I mean, this was just one of many crazy characters found in Gunstar Heroes and in all Treasure games. The game came originally packaged with a fruit roll-up.
Sega must have been high on fructose when they made this little deal with Betty Crocker. That's right, a few chosen Sega Genesis games came packaged with sticky, tasty fruit roll-up snacks. The 90s gamer fuel.
I remember going to Toys R Us to buy Gunstar Heroes. And I remember being in the car, driving home, having just bought it, and I opened the game in the car, and lo and behold, a fruit roll-up was inside.
True story, when this game came out, in order to sell more copies of the game, it came with like a weird fruit roll-up type thingy, and I don't know what it had to do with the game, but that's the only way they could sell any of these games. And I was actually able to convince the salesperson to throw that away because I didn't want it, but you know, kind of hungry now. I wish I could have kept it.
This was very baffling. I was only 7 years old, and I mean, that was awesome. I mean, I was a kid. I loved fruit roll-ups, and the fact that a fruit roll-up was inside my Sega game, I mean, that just, no pun intended, sweetened the deal.
So if you go on eBay and you see a complete copy of Gunstar Heroes and it does not include the fruit roll-up, it's not complete, it's not worth anything.
I still have that fruit roll-up to this day. That's right. Even back then, I was thinking like a collector. The game was also released on the Sega Game Gear, but only in Japan. What kills me about Gunstar Heroes being on the Game Gear is that A, it's really good, and B, it could have been ported to the Master System, but they never did. And, okay, obviously in America, the Master System had already died out, but the Master System continued to thrive in the UK, and especially in Brazil, where Tectoy actually released a bunch of games, like way into 1996. They released Dynamite Headdy on the Master System, but they never got their hands on Gunstar Heroes, and that would have been so awesome to have a version of Gunstar Heroes on the Master System. The board game stage takes up like 50% of the whole game.
In one of the game's most infamous moments, players are trapped inside a board game.
There's a dice stage in the game where you got to throw the dice and you fight all these different stages and go all the way through to the end.
I mean, the board game takes so long. You throwing the dice and you having to play all these little mini games and fight all those mini bosses. Mini bosses, no pun intended. Literally, there's some of them are like little mini tiny bosses. I mean, this is the kind of humor that Treasure had. I remember playing that stage for like almost an hour on end once because, first of all, it just takes you so long to traverse through it. And it's difficult on top of that, so you're sometimes dying and losing, having to try again. But then there's that one space towards the end where you land on that space, you go all the way back to the beginning of the board game.
And that's usually the point where I shut the game off because I don't want to do that again.
It's awesome. It's such a brilliant, innovative thing, and you cannot not love it.
It's a crappy stage.
This is the actual fruit roll-up that came packaged with my Gunstar Heroes in 1993. Wonder how it tastes. I haven't had one of these in forever. Well, it's very good. You know, tastes kind of nostalgic. You know, not bad. Excuse me.
One of the most beloved video games of all time, Gunstar Heroes broke new ground on every level.
I have great memories with it. My cousin, with his Christmas money, went with us to Toys R Us to buy Gunstar Heroes, and really I had never even heard of it, but he had heard some things about it, and we took it home, and suddenly that game eclipsed every other game we got that Christmas. And we got games like Sonic CD and Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Clay Fighter and, you know, these really awesome games of the time. But Gunstar Heroes suddenly was now the top dog, and literally we couldn't even think of the other games. All we did was play Gunstar Heroes the rest of that trip, and I just have such fond memories of
that whole experience. And really, Gunstar Heroes, more than anything, reminds me of family and just good times.
It's a good game, though. I do like shooting things until they die. I like it when things die. And I like it when I cause their death. By shooting.
Gunstar Heroes will always remain a game that means a whole lot to me. It's a game that I instantly identify with that amazing Christmas of 1993. I remember how excited we were to find this brand new game that was not on our radar and have it become one of the quintessential titles of that Christmas season. There's a lot of memories surrounding Gunstar Heroes, and I'm thankful Sega and Treasure teamed up together all those years ago to bring us a game for the ages. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time.